is Cody Wyatt, and I'll be doing a speech over ILS, or an instrument landing system. And I'm going to show my audience at the beginning of my speech. Alright. For almost 70 years, both pilots of civil and military aircraft have been flying and landing safely due to the ILS system. The ILS was invented in the 1930s by Ernest Kramer, and it was later implemented in 1947 as an international system for the U.S. and the globe. So when will we use an ILS? So let's say when weather is forecasted to be less than favorable conditions, so low visibility or low cloud layers. This allows the airplane to go from the en route phase of flight to an approach and then going into a landing. So if the clouds are too low or the visibility is too not applicable to do a visual approach into the runway, we'll use the ILS, instrument landing system. So the ILS will vary from airport to airport, but there are four main components that will stay true to each system. And that is, each will have a horizontal guidance, which is called a localizer, a vertical guidance, which is called the glide slope. Each one will have approach lighting system. And just an example, it would be like runway lights or runway markings. And then marker beacons. Marker beacons are, you could say, are like checkpoints in the sky that will notify pilots when action is needed in the airplane. So the ILS has a frequency that is tuned into, kind of sort of like on a FM radio station. Each station has a different frequency that it needs to be set to and enable for it to listen to the music. So this activates, whenever this frequency is tuned in by the pilot, this activates the navigational equipment inside the aircraft that'll allow the pilot to get the glide slope and the localizer, which will allow them to go from altitude down to the runway in a safe manner. So the pilots start this approach by intercepting the localizer, which starts roughly around 18 miles away from the airport. And they'll fly the localizer until roughly around 10 miles, where they will intercept the glide slope, and the glide slope will bring them from their altitude down to the runway. Now there are cases where we follow the glide slope and we are not able to see the runway, again to low visibility or low clouds. And at this point, we reach a decision, like minimum. It's our minimums for airplanes, and it's pretty much a decision altitude. So that's saying whenever we get to an altitude, we can't see the airport, we have to go execute a procedure called a missed approach. And what this does is we'll just climb back up to a safe altitude. We'll talk with our air traffic control, and we'll communicate whether we need to do A, shoot the approach again and see if we can see the airport, or B, if we need to fly to an alternate airport. And that's the basic principle of an ILS. So the ILS has been a major breakthrough in the aviation industry ever since the 1940s. And it's been used ever since by international, domestic, military pilots around. And it's definitely made much safer pilots, much safer planes, and it's helped prevent a lot of accidents. And so, once again, the instrument landing system has been used worldwide ever since the 1940s to ensure safety. Thank you. Have a nice night.